extremely exciting because I'm taking you guys apartment hunting with me, and I'll be sharing with you guys the entire process of doing so, including tips and also prices. So the reason why I'm making this is because I realized that a lot of people in Singapore don't actually share, their apartment hunting process or videos on YouTube. So I'm really hoping that this video today will give you guys a lot more information and insight into the process, and also help those of you guys who are also looking to find your own apartment in Singapore. Before I jump into the apartment tours itself, I thought it would be useful to share the step-by-step process of even finding apartments in the first place. You would typically start searching for an apartment maybe about a month before your intended moving date, and the very first thing to nail down is your requirements. So 3 things. Number 1, your budget. Number 2, location. And thirdly, your must-haves for your apartment. So for me, my budget excluding utilities, Wi-Fi, etc. was set at 2,200 per month, so that is just the rent alone. And in terms of location, I picked about 3 MRT stops that I wish to stay close to. And last but not least, my apartment must-haves would be big windows, because I take a lot of photos, so I want really good natural light coming into my apartment. And also I want an oven and also a washing machine, because I don't want to have to buy those bulky items myself and then have to carry it to my next apartment when I eventually move out. So after you have your requirements set, you can then start searching on Property Guru. So start by entering in the MRT stations that you wish to be near, hit search, then input your budget. Most of the times, the price listed on Property Guru are negotiable. So since I'm going for 2,200, I marked that up by a little and put 2,500. You will also want to filter by the number of rooms. For me, because I know that I want an apartment by myself, so I input 1 bedroom or a studio unit, because if you don't do that, you will see a lot of room rentals whereby you're just renting a single room from the house that the landlord stays in, which I don't want. And once you find a new unit that you like, you need to take note of key information that's usually listed under the description. So things like for females only, whether it's fully furnished, etc. And if you scroll down further, you can also see a list of appliances that the unit comes with. And if all of which is good, you can go ahead and then contact the agent via WhatsApp to ask for a viewing. So now here's the exciting part, which is the apartment tours. For me, I viewed a total of 4 units, 3 of which are actually in the same development, because given my budget and the location that I wish to stay in, there are honestly not a lot available. So the first apartment that I visited was a 1 bedroom. It comes with a small kitchenette and opens out into the living room. So what I really loved about this was that it was located on a very high floor with an absolutely gorgeous sea view. And when I first stepped into the apartment, the sea breeze was literally just coming in from the window, and it gave me such good vibes. So yeah, in terms of first impression, this apartment gave me a great first impression. From the living room, there's a door leading to the bedroom. Bedroom is actually pretty small, but there's enough space for you to fit a queen-size bed, which is good enough for me. As for the bathroom, it was a decent size with marble throughout and a really nice rain shower. So even though this apartment was unfurnished, I really liked the location and the view, so this ended up actually being my very first choice, which I made an offer for first. So now here comes the story. Initially, I offered 2,100 to the landlord, which he rejected without giving any reason whatever so. And that is actually really strange, because most of the time, after you make an offer, if the landlord is not happy with your offer, he would come back to you with a counter offer. But this landlord, it's like he just said no. And when I asked the agents oh, what's the reason? What price is he, looking for or willing to go? And the agent also said that he is unable to reach the landlord, and the landlord just texted him 1 word, no, which was really strange. So I was like, okay. and I made a second offer which was $2,150 for the unit, and then the landlord came back again and said no. And once again, he did not give any reason whatever or any counter offer, which was really strange. And I guess that in the end was a deal breaker for me, because I realized that if I were to, have such an unresponsive landlord in the end, if I were to have any problems with my unit in the future, I don't want the landlord to just like ghost me and not respond. So that was a huge deal breaker for me, and I ended up not going for this apartment. And so bye, Seaview. So the second apartment that I viewed was also in the same development, but on a lower floor and instead facing the city instead of the sea. So the interior and layout is basically exactly the same as the previous one. But when I went, the previous tenant had yet to move out, so you can still see a lot of boxes everywhere. But I think what sold me about this unit, even though the view and the location is not exactly the best, is how nice the agent and the landlord are. So the agent, for one, she was super patient and nice in explaining everything to me, and she was very transparent about all the prices and all the costs that I have to incur, such as aircon maintenance, which is not included, and also things like the stamp duty that I would have to pay for. So I really appreciated that. And that's what I think made me go for this unit instead of like a similar one which I was looking at, which I'll show afterwards. So when my first offer for the previous unit fell through, I made an offer which is $2,100 for this unit that we just saw. And then the landlord came back to me with a counter offer of $2,200, which I decided to accept. So yeah, here I am today, the exact same unit that with a bunch of boxes that you see. So even though this was the final unit, I only made this offer and also the previous offer at the end of everything. So after I viewed all 4 units. So let's just go ahead and finish it, even though you guys already know the end result. So the third unit was also in the same development. The only difference was that it was on a higher floor and with a city view. So in terms of location of the unit, it's better than the one that I got because it was on a higher floor, but the furnishings weren't as nice and the agent wasn't as nice either. She was rather cold when I asked her questions and just not as friendly in general. So in the end, I decided to go for the better agent. The very last apartment was in a different development, and honestly, before viewing it, I had really hoped that I would end up liking this unit because it was located 5 minutes away from the MRT station that I really wanted. Because the listing photos looked really bad, but I was hoping that, in real life that it would actually not look as bad, but well, no. Yes, this apartment is very big, but it was very poorly maintained. The handles on the kitchen cabinets were sticky and rusty, and the floorboards in the bedroom were peeling off. And actually, this unit had been listed by many agents on Property Guru for a really long time because I had been in the market for quite some time, just browsing through Property Guru every day and searching for units. So I know for a fact that this listing has been there for a really long time and just untaken by anyone. So I guess that should have been a red flag for me. What happened in the end was that I raised my concerns to the agent that was there, and he said that could be discussed with the landlord. So I just decided to, on that day itself, I decided to just try my luck, but I wasn't really being serious about it. I just offered $1,900, which is a lot lower than the previous 3 units that I saw, but on the condition that the landlord fixes the floorboards and he cleans up like the kitchen appliances and also changed like all the handles so that they're no longer like rusty and sticky. But then the landlord came back to me and said, you take the unit as it is or leave it. So, well, I decided to leave it. And I think another thing I noticed during the viewing was that the previous tenant had placed like those cockroach traps all over the unit. So I suspect there might be some sort of like bug or roach problem in the unit, which I really do not want to deal with in the future. Once you find an apartment that you really like, the next step is to actually make an offer. Usually a text message or WhatsApp message to the agent with the offer price, the lease term that you're looking at, and also any other conditions that you want, like if you want a certain furniture removed from the unit, etc., would suffice. And once the landlord agrees to this verbal offer, you can then ask the agent to draft a letter of intent, otherwise known as LOI. So the LOI is basically the step between viewing and the signing of the actual tenancy agreement. So once you and the landlord signs the LOI, the landlord has to stop showing the unit to other potential tenants. And with that, you would have to pay this thing called the good faith deposit, which is usually a month's worth of rent. So that good faith deposit will be transferred to your security deposit after you sign the tenancy agreement. But if the deal falls through and it is completely your fault for backing out, then you would not get it back. So make sure you are already serious about getting that unit before signing the LOI and paying the good faith deposit. So a few days after the LOI agreement has been signed, the agent and also the landlord will come up with this tenancy agreement. So the tenancy agreement is basically like the official agreement that is legally binding for both you and the landlord. So make sure before you sign it, check every single term and condition on the tenancy agreement. I'll be inserting a few links in the description down below to guide you through what are the key terms on the tenancy agreement that you need to take into account. Because if I were to say it now, this video is going to become an hour long. So yeah, make sure to check that out if you are serious about renting an apartment in Singapore. This is basically the very last step before you collect your keys. And if you were to ask me in terms of like finances wise, how much do you really have to pay to get an apartment? So for me, my rent is 2,200 per month. Utilities for one person is about 100. Wi-Fi is going to cost you another $50 per month. And you will also need to pay for things like aircon servicing, which is about $30 per quarter. And since I have two aircons, it's going to cost me about $20 on a per month basis, thereabouts. As for one-time miscellaneous fees, there is the security deposit. For me, since I signed a 1.5-year lease, it's 1.5 months worth of rent, which is $3,300. And you also need to pay the stamp duty, which is 0.4% of total rent for the period of the lease, which is for me $158. So really, renting can cost quite a bit, honestly. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching, and I really hope that this video is informational for those of you who are looking to find an apartment in Singapore as well. Feel free to drop any questions you have in the comments down below, and I will try my very best to answer every single one of them. And I'll hopefully see you guys soon for an apartment tour. Bye!